We're rolling. It's a Kayane. How are you? It's Heart Health Month. It's Black History Month. And I've published some things on the Living Connection with Akane Chamberlain on Facebook about some different things that you can do to support your heart health this month. If you are at work and you are sitting more than 30 minutes at a time, you really want to get up and move around. There was a very interesting video about the damage that sitting for hours and hours every day inflicts on the cardiovascular system. So even if you're a weekend warrior, you do want to get up and move around at least every half an hour. And of course, now there are all kinds of ways to work standing and ergonomic chairs that's much better for you than the traditional way that we have been sitting. Today, I just wanted to address a couple of things. One is that someone asked me what I thought of yoga, and I actually think quite a lot of yoga. There's a lot to say about yoga, um, but I wanted to start with a little background on yoga itself. So, yoga is actually compared to a ladder. It is a process, and it's divided up into, I'm going to use some Sanskrit terms here: karma kanda, karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, hatha yoga, there's bhakti yoga, all these different processes, and I've skipped a few, not to make this too confusing. But yoga means to yoke up, to link up. It means union. It means union with God. And of course, in that is the inherent principle of linking mind, body, and soul together, harmonizing those elements to become more peaceful, with the goal in mind that you will attain a level of self-realization, self-knowledge, self-awareness, and most importantly, an awareness of yourself in relationship to the big self with God. So, briefly, Karma Kanda, that is a series of instructions for people that are interested in material gain. It's scientific. Karma yoga, which is a term that I think is gaining popularity in the West, is about how can I go about my everyday activities, things that I do day in and day out, and somehow link that up with the divine purpose, with the divine consciousness. Or you could say, how can I not be schizophrenic and think that, my life is I do what I do 6 days a week, and then on Sunday or Saturday or Friday I go to church and synagogue, but there's really my life, my everyday life, and my divine life are two separate things. So Karma Yoga rather, is the process of learning how to dedicate one's activities to the divine, your thinking, your speech, the way you cook, the way you treat others, how you manage your finances. All those different things come into the category of karma yoga. So it's offering the fruits of your labor to to the divine. Jnana yoga is a process of ascending knowledge that is one that we're pretty familiar with in the West. It's akin to Cartesian philosophy, where through the process of deduction and questioning and answering and examining, you come up with mental understanding of different empirical truths. And that's actually considered to be a bona fide rung on the ladder of yoga, on the way to understanding the big picture. Then there's Ashtanga yoga, and that's a process that follows the eightfold yoga system. So there's different things that are involved in that, celibacy. You've heard of yama, niyama, things you should avoid, things that you should try and engage in, pranayam, breathing exercises, hatha. All the yoga asanas are there essentially to train and discipline the body, and by so doing, train and discipline the mind to become more peaceful, to become more centered, and to also develop a kind of an inner self-reliance and a respect for the natural creation. You'll notice that a lot of the asanas are named after different animals. Peacock pose, scorpion pose, eagle pose, cow pose. We even have child pose. And sometimes, as I learned this morning from my yoga instructor Charlie this morning, even sometimes named after different sages. And then at the top of this ladder, you've got something that's called Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga is the marriage of the intellect and the emotions together. We become fully unified to offer our loving devotion to the Creator. So I think yoga is great. I think you can get started pretty much at any stage of life. It's not a competition. It's not anything that you should try and do really with anyone else but yourself. If you're engaged in the physical aspect and practices of that, or even in the more, meditative mantra, cultivation of knowledge, and performing those kinds of austerities. It's really something where you're kind of comparing yourself with yourself every day and hopefully developing an inner relationship and a deeper relationship with the universe, as we like to say. Other than that, I just wanted to say thanks everyone for all your condolences in regards to my grandfather, Bernardo Lapallo. It's been tough for me to talk about it. I felt very close to him. I did do an interview today on him and my mother, Lee Chamberlain, who also passed away about a year and a half ago. So we lost both of them in about the span of a year and a half. About their life, about their legacy, about their work, about health, about so many different things. And that's going to be posted to a website called iloveoldschoolmusic.com. They also have a Facebook page, they have an Instagram, and I want to take the time really to thank Kim and Charlotte, who are based out of New Orleans, who cared to be inspired and to hear, from me today. It really means a lot, and it means a lot, I think, to a lot of people. I also want to say that my Bernardo Legacy podcast project is coming along a little bit more slowly than I would like, but I have about, I would say a little less than half a dozen interviews recorded, and I'm looking forward to getting a few more of those. My goal is to reach at least a dozen, and there may be a person or two that I'm going more in depth with that. So take care of your heart this month. And that's your weekly update. Until the next time, be well.